Most producers struggle to finish songs because they don't have a clear process to reach that professional level. After analysing 100 songs from you guys, I believe that I've found the most common mistakes that everybody makes. So in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to fix them, and I'm going to show you how my students and I consistently make bangers by following this proven approach. Before we get started, I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that sent tracks in. If you missed out this time, then you can join the free Discord server down below. There'll be more opportunities to get involved with stuff like this, and there'll also be a new remix competition coming soon as well. So the first mistake I spotted is all about organization and using a project template on your tracks. Now, I will admit a lot of you have created some really cool project templates and are using them in your tracks, like this one here that Simon Lennon sent in, who is actually part of the academy as well. You can see here nicely organized. We've got basses, we've got drums, synths, vocals and effects, all nicely set up, and he's even got markers in place as well to show where each section is. Really nicely organized. But then a few of you aren't using project templates at all, and if you've got more than, I'd say, 10 tracks, you really need to be using some sort of template. So right here we've got Chris K, who sent in a track, and while it's sounding pretty good, the track, it's just a bit of a mess. So why not just create a project template? And I've even saved you some time here. You can download a free project template, works with FL Studio and Ableton, in the description down below. So get that downloaded, customize it to your taste, and then start using it in every track, and you'll just see your workflow gradually improve. And it's also really helpful if you send it to other people like you've sent it to me. If I was just to be able to see the drums are here, basses are here, the instruments are here, the vocals are here, it'd be so much easier. And things like collabing later on, when you work on a track with someone else, if you send them a nice organized track, they're gonna be so thankful compared to what would otherwise be hard to wrap their head around. The next mistake I've noticed is not many of you are using a reference track, or at least using a reference track actually inside your DAW. So this is Rob D. Ridder who sent me a track. Sorry if I butchered that name. And you're not using a project template, so get that downloaded. But also at the top here, so in the project template, at the top here, if we just insert one, this is where your reference track will go. So you'll pop your reference track on here and then be able to refer to it throughout your whole production process, just to check certain things like how your mix down sounds versus theirs, how your sound selection sounds versus theirs, how your structure looks like compared to theirs. There's so many benefits you can get from using a reference track, and don't be fooled by people telling you it's cheating. It's definitely not. It's one of the best ways to learn. Now Quilter has sent this track in, so this is the same for you. You just come here and put your reference track here. You've got a project template set up, which looks okay. If this works for you, then that's good. I would try and color coordinate it a little bit better, so have your drums all in blue, have your basses all in red, for example, just so it's a bit easier on the eyes. But if this works for you, then that's also good. And for those that are a little bit confused as to how to actually set up the reference track, let me show you how to do it on the project template. So you can see here that we've got the reference track slot at the top, and somebody recently requested for me to look at the new Subfocus track and make a tutorial based around that. So I'm just going to show you the first thing I do. So I'll get the Subfocus track, which is here, and I'll just drag it onto the DAW. So that'll be here, and then I'll just go online and search the track. So I'll search the track, key and BPM. It says here 174 BPM. You can just check a couple more just to make sure. So you see there 174, 174, and that's a different track, but it's probably 174. So it's already at 174, so that's fine. And then I'll just come down here and get rid of this little gap at the start, because most of them have this gap. You just got to get rid of that. Just like this. Drag that in, and then you just want to cut wherever you want to cut. So the drop's here, and then I'll probably go to like here, and then cut that. And then we've got our reference track set up. If you want to work at a different BPM, say your project's at 175, you can just come to here, go here, and then auto detect and set this to 174. So just type in the BPM 174. Set this to E3 generic so the pitch stays consistent. And then when you move this, let's say we go to 180, just press yes. When it changes, restretches, it will restretch with it. You can see that it's restretched with it. So what I'll also do is I'll come to here and I'll go extract stems from sample. And then you can just choose which ones you want along here. I normally just do all of them, and then I'll just click extract. And then once it's done, it'll look like this, and you've got all the separate elements here. And when you're working on your drums, you can refer to this. When you're working on your basses, you can refer to this, etc. And then you can refer to the overall track as well for just general mixing tips. And this actually leads nicely on to the next point. You can use the reference track to help you with your structure. So you see here along the top here, you've got these markers. So you can base your markers on the reference track if you want, if you struggle with structure. So let's just delete all these. I think some of these are actually out of time. I might need to go and fix that if that's what's happening on the project template. So feel free to just delete them and put your own ones in. So we have like an intro, and then you have your drop here. So you could put drop. And whilst you're learning, you can literally just copy the same structure that your reference track is doing. This one's a bit of a weird example because it's not in 16 bars. Normally what I like to do with drum and bass is stay in 16 bar phrases to keep it simple. So yeah, just be careful with the reference track you're using. Try and stick to 16 bar phrases because it's just helpful when you're getting the ideas down and keeping things organized, and especially for DJs when they're mixing as well, for drum and bass at least. With like 4x4 music, you can more stick to like 8 bar phrases. So this is Simon's track here, and whilst you've done a really good job putting these markers in, there's a bit too many of them, and some of them look a little bit uneven. Like here you've got this section, but then this section's a really shorter. So like here you've got this section, but then this section's a lot shorter. Try and stick in 16 bar phrases, especially when you're learning, because it's going to just simplify things. And also, I don't know why you've started the track in the 33rd bar. Just start it at the start. You don't need this big gap at the start. Just bring everything back, and then every 16 bars add a new marker in. So the first one will be intro, then the second one might be breakdown, and then after 8 bars there, you might have a build up for 8 bars, and then you might have a drop for 16 bars, second half of the drop for 16 bars, and then you might go into another breakdown. So let me see if I can quickly fix this for you. I'm just going to go Control X and then go all the way back to the start here and do Control V. And then if we just remove all these markers, so I'll just quickly do that. So let's take a look here. We've got the first marker can go here. So that's just going to be intro. So that's the first 16 bars, and it just feels like that's the continuation of the intro. And then we'll have the build up here. So you just come to here, add locator, build up, and then 16 bars again, we'll have the drop here. So the drop will just go there, and then you just keep doing that. So every 16 bars, if it needs another locator, put that in. If it doesn't, then do it to the next one. And just throughout the whole track, it will all just be 16 bar phrases. And if you're doing bass line or house, you can do 16 bar phrases or you can do 8 bar phrases, but try not to just randomly add an 8 bar phrase without the other 8 bars so it doesn't add up to 16, because otherwise it just can get a bit confusing, especially if you're trying to DJ, mix it, and it just can sound a little bit off to listeners as well if some sections aren't as long as others. So I hope that makes sense. It just makes everything simpler and makes your producing experience a lot easier as well. No! Now the next mistake I see, this is a really quick one, but I'm kind of joking a little bit here, but why so many plugins I don't have? What's going on here? And just some general advice for you. You don't need so many plugins. Every time you create something and you add plugins, make sure you know exactly what each plugin is doing. Don't add stuff for the sake of it. Now, because I don't know what these plugins are doing, maybe you've done this right, but just by looking at it, there's a lot of plugins on everything. Maybe everything is doing something, but I've seen so many cases from a lot of my students where they'll literally just whack like a preset on for no reason other than because they've got the preset there. So they'll have like a preset chain that they'll just keep whacking on different samples every single time. Then it often can make the sound actually sound worse just because you're literally just throwing it on. Whereas if you actually think about each one, like if I go and show you one of my projects, I'll do that really quickly. So if we just quickly go through some of these, you can see I'm barely using any plugins. Got like an EQ here. Nothing on here. This is my latest track, Fast, that's just come out. It just hit 10k actually, which is pretty awesome. But you can see maybe I've got more on the basses, but I'm only got like very specific ones that I know are doing something. A lot of the samples you get, like if you bring a kick drum in from the sample pack, that's already been processed. It doesn't really need processing anymore a lot of the time. Unless you're doing like automation, like with the EQ, I'm probably doing automation with these EQs here, like this one here, then that's good. Use them for that. And then just little bits. You can see literally I've got like just a few plugins on the bass here, a few plugins on the vocals here, and then that's pretty much it. There's not much going on. It's all about sample selection, couple on the buses, and then literally just a Pro L. It's all about keeping it as simple as possible and not getting carried away just chucking stuff on for the sake of it. Trust me, this will make a big difference because you'll find yourself focusing on the wrong thing. Whereas if you focus on, for example, sample selection instead of the plugins that are going on it, you'll quickly make improvements. The next mistake we're going to look at is more about the sounds in the track now. Probably the bit you've all been waiting for. And I've picked a track now that I think has hit all the previous points. So they've done everything right up to this point. And this track is by Hodge, and it's appropriately called I Just Want to Make a Banger, which is very sweet. So let's see if we can do something about that for you. So as you can see here, he's got his markers at the top. I don't know why there's a little gap here, but you've managed to make the track still start at number 1. So that doesn't matter too much. Just hurts my brain a little bit. I think you must have been taught you need to leave a little gap at the start and the end for your tracks, but you really don't need to leave one at the start, just at the end. I think a lot of people get taught that for mixdown purposes, but there's literally no point. And you've done what I've suggested with the markers, so you've got a 16 bar intro, 8 bar breakdown, 8 bar build up, but that combines into 16 bars, and then 16 bar for the first part of the drop, 16 bar for the second part, and then so on and so on. So you've done the structure really nicely. You've got your project template all nicely set up as well. You've got your drums, your basses, your different elements, your effects. So that looks really good. You have a reference track slot. Now there's no reference track in here, but I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt and say that you deleted the reference track before you sent it to me. I hope that's the case. And you've not got too many crazy plugins. Like I've been able to open it pretty okay. There's a few on the basses and then not that many elsewhere. You're on the vocals and that's about it. Nice work there. And now let's listen to the track. So the main issue that I found is a mixture of you missing out some key elements and your sound selection. So if we just play it. So you've got some nice drums going on here with a build up. You've got a few elements added in. And you've got quite a lot of basses. And you've got an overall idea there, like I can kind of see the idea behind your track, but it's just lacking in certain elements. So there's not much layering going on with the elements. There's not much of an idea behind it. There's no vocal driving the track. There's no like main sample driving the intro to make it catchy. And on the drop, you've got some nice bass elements and you've got some decent drums, but they're just not really hitting. So the sample selection is a little bit off here. And I have noticed that there's no Arcade samples in there, so that's probably why. I'm only joking. But let's see what I can do now to beef this up. Okay, so I've gone away and produced for like 2 or 3 hours. I got a little bit carried away. I'll just show you the structure that I've changed. So I just got rid of those 4 bars at the start, so it starts right at the start. And I've just put intro, breakdown, build up, drop 1, pretty much the same as what you had. And I've just worked up until the end of the 16 bars of drop 1. And then I've mainly focused on the breakdown and drop 1. Just for the purposes of this video, because these are like the most important parts of the track. And I've tried to stick with your idea, but just beef up the elements. So the very first thing I did was look for a vocal, because you didn't have a vocal on the track. So I actually started out on Splice, and I used Splice Bridge, but I'm getting more and more pissed off with Splice level of vocal samples. So what I did instead was I went to one of these vocal websites that does just pure vocals, which is vocalfire.com. It's a little bit more expensive, but they let you test them out for free now. So I just went to like House, I think, and then I went to E minor because your track's in E minor. And then I literally just went to this one, set me free, 127 BPM, but that's fine, we can stretch it. And then I just went test vocal, downloaded the test vocal, popped it in here, changed it to 127 BPM here, changed it to E3 generic on here, and then just made it like this, chopped it up a little bit so it fits nicely, and now we've got this vocal. And there is that vocal fire in the background because of the demo, but what I would like to do with this is if I end up finishing the track, I'll buy the vocal. Simple as that.
Set me free. Vocalfire.com. Let me follow the light. Trapped inside, I can fight anymore.
Well, that sounds pretty cool for the kind of style you're going for. And in terms of post-processing, you know, I just did my usual Klar vocals, And then I did add a reverb chain on another channel, so I just put it in slot 10 because it was empty, and then applied it at the bottom here. You can see, put some Valhalla Room on it, EQ'd out the lows, and then you had like these decent chords here. So I initially tried to change these from Serum to Nexus here, and I picked like a pad, and they sound like this now. But then I thought that's not very catchy, so I looked for some samples on Splice, and I found this one here, which I pitch adjusted to F minor. And I thought it works really well with your drums. So these build-up drums that you've got here adds a little bit of bounce, makes you want to dance a little bit. And with the vocals, I thought it sounded really cool. So listen to this. Just thought it fit the vibe a lot better than just a pad. Basically, all this was, it was using Splice Bridge, going through loads of sounds. I think I downloaded quite a few sounds before I got to this one. Just trialing and error, loads of different stuff until I found that. So that kind of stuff just takes time and experience and patience, basically. So now we've got a pretty cool breakdown. So I've kept your drums, your effects, and I've just added in a vocal and changed up the synths a little bit. So we've got that sorted. And then you didn't have a pre-drop drum. So I went to my dance floor sample pack and I just took one of the drum fills. So this drum fill here, and I literally just dragged it in here, chopped it up a bit, and now we've got this little drum fill. I thought it sounds pretty cool. Just need a little bit of something there. And then we did the same for the drums. So I literally just grabbed one of my full drum loops from the dance floor pack, because your drums sounded a little bit weak. So I literally just dragged it and put it over the top of them. And we got some decent sounding drums now, I think. So this was before. So they sound all right, the drums you made, but the groove isn't great and they're a little bit weak. So they need to be beefed up a little bit. So obviously this isn't the way to do it. If I was to go and finish this track, I'd go in individually and change each element until they're sounding good. But this is just like a temporary fix. So listen to it now. So the groove's been fixed, the beefing up has been fixed a little bit, and then if I want to help you completely finish this tune, then I'll go in and change it a bit more, but this is fine for now. And then finally, you've got all your different basses. So because you're making like a dance floor style tune, you've actually done a really good job here of adding all the elements in. It's just the preset selection was a little bit weak, and you didn't fill the space as much as you could have. So the sub bass you added in was really good. You've done that right. So you've like EQ'd out, I think this is a little bit too steep, but I don't think it matters too much. So you've EQ'd out below 110-ish just to get that low fundamental sound of the sub. But then you didn't really have like the pulse bass playing constantly, and it was really quiet, the sub bass as well. So I just beefed it up, turned it up. Now it's a bit louder. And I changed it so it's playing constantly, because you had like gaps where it wasn't playing. When it was playing with the drums, it sounded a bit weird because it kept like stopping and starting. So let me show you what I've done. Ignore the little bit of clipping, that's just because of the drums. But overall it sounds pretty cool now. We can fix that later. So I just added a Serum 2 and used one of the pulse spacers from my dance floor D&B sample pack, Pulse Bass 1, and I think I shortened it down a little bit maybe on one of the envelopes, and then I just copied your melody and have it playing every single step apart from on the first hit, and then we get this. So you can see that I've literally just got an EQ and then some OTT, some Camel Crusher, and some more EQ, cutting out the low end because that's where that sub bass is that you've already added in, and we don't need the pulse bass playing there as well. And then you had a bass here, which I thought was pretty cool, but it was playing a bit too much to go over the new pulse bass. So I've just like chopped it up and kept the bits at the end. So now we've got this at the end of each section here. It's the same melody that you had. I've just chopped out the bits here that were here, that were here, that were here. And I've also added in a second bass. So I call these like support basses. So in the dance floor pack, I've got all these growls and I've got some support basses as well. You can see down here. And I just add these in like in random places at the end of sections. So you can see here, I've got one here, one here, one here, matching the melody of the pulse bass. And then that just adds like a nice little transition. It's kind of like a little one-shot effects ear candy. So if we play it now. Hear that one there. So now we've got all these elements playing nicely together, but we need one more element on the first hit of the drop. So I was using the Subfocus track as a reference track, but unfortunately I can't play it because of copyright. Annoying, I know. But it's got like a nice horn style or growl style bass. So I thought, why not use one of the horns from my Danceful sample pack? So I've picked horn number 6, and then I've just put some elements on it. So I think I put an EQ and then some reverb on another channel here, just like the vocal chain. Same method there. And then this sounds like this. So you can see I've followed the melody of the pulse bass. Very simple. And then altogether when I play it, it sounds like this. So you can see I've basically filled all the gaps in, so there's something going on at every time, but it doesn't feel too overcrowded because it's all linked together. It all sounds nice and flowing. And then once we fix these drums properly, you'll have pretty much a really cool track. So then we have got this vocal over the top as well, which I've chopped up to fit nicely. So essentially all I've done here is I found a track from one of you guys that hit all the first 4 mistakes I went over, and you had a general decent idea in place, but you just executed it not as good as you could have. So I've just come in and had a look at what was missing, how you could beef up some of the sample selection, and then gone through and methodically changed each part. So I've started with the vocals, then the instruments, then the drums, then the basses, and would normally do the effects as well, but they sounded all right here. Maybe I could have done more with that, but let me know in the comments. Do you want me to finish this track with Hodge and then release it? That could be another video idea, so let me know in the comments. Maybe I could do some of your other tracks that you've sent in as well, because there were some other really cool tracks, but I'm out of time this week for making videos, so maybe a future video I could do like a I Fix the Subscribers track, so let me know in the comments. So let's hear the before and after of this track, and you can let me know in the comments what you think of the change. And now let's listen to what it sounds like afterwards. Oh yeah, and just ignore the vocalfire.com. I'll buy the vocal if we end up finishing it.
Not this time, I ain't coming back. If I've been all there is, I don't even mind. I'm not, I don't mind. Set me free. Let me follow the Lord. Trapped inside, I can't fight anymore. Let me breathe. Who was before? Let me breathe. Who was before? I'll be free. Let me follow the Lord. Trapped inside, I can't fight anymore.
Then the only other major mistake I don't think I've covered yet is mixing and mastering. But I've recently made a complete mixdown tutorial, which I'll leave up on the screen here. So you can literally just use all the information you've just learnt now, watch this video as well, then you should be good to go for your next production session.